Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. If you love the Second Amendment, then do yourself a favor right now. Obviously, watch this video, but subscribe to the channel. I'll keep you in the know. We put out videos every single day, oftentimes 2 a day, because there's just that much happening in our world. And I want to welcome back to the show. I'm proud to call him a friend, America's Attorney General, the Attorney General in Missouri, Andrew Bailey. Sir, thank you for coming back on. I know you've been extremely busy. Thank you for your time.
Hey, man, I always appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you and your audience. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, before we jump into it, I want to congratulate you on your primary victory. I know your eyes are on November for the election, but you slayed it in Missouri. It's a very red state. You won every single county by double digits and all but 2. You even won St. Louis, which is phenomenal. So congratulations.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's humbling. You know, it's a humbling privilege to serve and to have folks that, statewide that are willing to go cast ballots for you. So just a real opportunity to move the state in a good direction moving forward. I'm excited about the next 4 years. Got to get through November, but we're excited about the future.
And for those watching, if you hear anything from AG Bailey that inspires you, because this guy is a true red-blooded American, do me a favor. You might not live in Missouri, but even if you do live in Missouri, head over to his website. It's baileymo.com.
Yes, sir.
All
yes,
right.
sir. Yeah, appreciate that. Look, you may not be a constituent, but I can still represent you. The lawsuits that we're filing, the work that we're doing to protect freedom, protect America, that matters to everybody. I lead the effort from here in Missouri, but we want to be able to restore constitutional order and the voice of the people in this country. And that's what we're fighting for.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's segueing right into where I'm going here. AG Bailey is fighting for everybody in the country. I don't know anybody who has sued the Biden-Harris administration more than you have, brother. So that alone, everybody should be heading to your website and chipping in what they can to get you elected in November. Let's talk about some of the suits that you've been involved in. We'll save the best for last, which is the Second Amendment Preservation Act, because I think what just happened in the 8th was a mistake, but I want to hear from you. So before we even get to the cases, guys, if you didn't watch the first video that AG Bailey came on, I'll pin it above, but the guy's a war hero, right? He's decorated. He went 2 tours of combat in Iraq, joined the Army post 9/11, which many people did. And when he came back, he got into law school, and now he's ascended to the role of Attorney General for Missouri. So that in and of itself, my hat is off to you, my friend. You've done great for yourself, and I can't wait to see just how far your star rises.
Man, I appreciate you, brother. I really appreciate you. Like I said, I don't want to be a politician. I want to be the Attorney General because I'm invested. I have 4 small children, and I want them to grow up with the same freedom, safety, and prosperity. And I'm willing to fight for those things. And hopefully, I think people are seeing that and they're supportive of it. So again, it's a privilege to get to serve, and excited about the future.
Awesome. Well, let's give you a victory lap if we could. For those who are watching, you might have heard of some of these cases, but I'm telling you that AG Bailey is the one who is fighting these cases for us on our behalf. We'll start with the big one that's been talking, hitting the airwaves lately. You saw Mark Zuckerberg write a letter to Jim Jordan saying, you know what, Congressman, yes, I was forced into censoring Americans' First Amendment because the White House and the FBI made me do it. And that came out because of your lawsuit. Tell everybody what you can about that case so that most people will understand it.
Yeah, old Mark Zuckerberg with the Nuremberg defense there. Yeah, I mean, look, we had the case Missouri v. Biden, the most important First Amendment suit in this nation's history, where we did preliminary discovery to get a preliminary injunction, 20,000 pages of documents, numerous depositions that revealed a coercive relationship between the federal government and the big tech social media oligarchy to silence, guess what? Conservative voices, only conservative voices, but they wanted to silence our voices and drive us from public discourse. They were effective at doing that. The case has been on hold for the past year because we've been sitting at the United States Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court found that the censorship did occur. The government coerced big tech into silencing our voices in violation of the First Amendment. But the court found that our evidence only extended to the years 2020, 2021. Well, that's because the case has been sitting on hold, working through the appellate and Supreme Court process. So now we're back down at the trial court level. And just this week, I'm excited to announce the United States District Court judge ordered discovery to commence. And we're going to use that discovery process to root out this vast censorship enterprise and put an end to it. It is bad enough that you've got these oligarchs that want to silence our voices, but it violates the First Amendment when the government demands that they do it and forces them to do it. It's not just your and my right to speak that's been violated. It's your audience's right to hear. And that's what we're fighting for. And that's why we're fighting so hard for it.
And I'm so glad you're still fighting that, because that it's obvious what has happened. I'm a victim of it too. I've been shadow banned. I've stuff deleted just because I'm a conservative voice. So on behalf of the rest of us in America, thank you thank you for doing it, because not many people took up the fight that you did. So I appreciate it.
Hey, it's important that we protect a free, fair, and open marketplace of ideas where our ideas will win because we're right, but our voices have to be heard. And look, the censorship that's going on is more clandestine and more nefarious than any point in human history. When you're shadow banned, de-emphasized, deplatformed, your audience, you and your audience may never know that that's happened. And it's not just the spoken word, it's the visual imagery. It's the nonverbal communication that's occurring on this channel as well. And so all of those things are important. They're all protected by the First Amendment. This is a fight worth making. Excited to be getting into the marriage discovery process.
Dude, I'm just honored to know you. Seriously. Like, guys, if that first case we just talked about, if that doesn't have you fired up, that this guy is fighting to stop the censorship from big tech against us, we the people. If you're fired up, go to his website. I'll have links down below. Chip in when you can. Throw him a large pizza's amount of money, $20. It'll help him. He needs it because the election is fast approaching. Let's talk about this other one that I love, because I pay taxes. I paid for my own college. Nobody gave me any attaboys, but Biden wants to have this student loan forgiveness, and you sued him on it. Tell everybody about this Biden-Harris initiative that she's trying to distance herself from, but she's tied up in it too.
Yeah, Biden and Harris tried to redistribute $500 billion in student loan debt. And yeah, it's offensive to people like you and me who paid for our school through service, or working families who didn't go to college because they didn't want to take out that debt. And we know the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse, not the president. He had no statutory or constitutional authority to do what he did the first time. We went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, put a stop to it. And then he comes back with Plan B. Nothing's changed. Now he's just willfully defying a co-equal third branch of government, the United States Supreme Court. This is a constitutional crisis. At what point do we call it what it is? If President Trump or any Republican just defied and willfully, blew off ignored an order of the United States Supreme Court, they would be pilloried. And yet here, the media just covers up what Biden's doing, when Biden and Harris are really trying to buy votes in an election cycle in a key demographic. So we filed suit again. And just this week, the United States Supreme Court reiterated what they said the first time, which we knew they were going to do, and put a stop to it. I'm not going to let Joe Biden and Kamala Harris saddle working families with Ivy League debt.
It's awesome. America's Attorney General is a title that you should just have your own entrance theme to it. Like, you are doing more than the other 49. And my hat is off to you. On that path of you're doing more than everybody else, you actually sued the administration to finish the border wall because they were doing other stuff with that money. Maybe give everybody the nitty gritty on that case too.
Yeah, we live in a constitutional democratic republic where the founding fathers understood it was a timeless principle of freedom that we would have a federal government of limited authority diffused over 3 co-equal branches of government. And one of the limited lines of authority the federal government has is protecting our borders, immigration law, national security. And what the executive branch, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, as borders are supposed to be doing, is enforcing the laws that Congress passes. There is an immigration code on the books. Congress appropriated money to finish building President Trump's border wall, and President Biden and border czar Kamala Harris said, we don't care, we're not doing it. So we sued them, took them to task, and we have won. That judgment is now final. They've got to stop wasting your and my tax dollars on infinitely regressive environmental studies and instead put the shovel in the ground and start finishing building President Trump's border wall. This is a huge win to force the federal government to do their job, force Kamala Harris and Joe Biden to own their absolute failures to abide by the mandates of Congress.
It's good to see that they're losing so much. It's awesome. The next one that folks will probably get fired up about is the Amnesty Deal, where they were going to give a free path to a bunch of over 1 million illegal immigrants to just make him a citizen just because, well, we know they wanted him to vote for him, but you fought that as well.
Yeah, it's bad enough that Joe Biden comes into office and abandons the Trump era policies at the border that worked, like arrest people, detain people, remain in Mexico, build a wall, like stop them from getting here in the first place. And then we won't have as many problems with human trafficking and fentanyl. Instead, they abandoned all those policies, but they went one step further and hung an open sign at the southern border by perverting the law. It's called the parole process. So there's in the immigration code, federal officials are allowed to parole individuals for a limited time, limited purpose. And really the idea here is that if you've got a cartel leader that's standing trial in America and you need to bring a witness across the border, you can do that for the limited purposes of testifying at trial. Well, what Biden and Harris said was that they were going to turn the parole process into amnesty for X number of Haitians, Y number of Guatemalans, Z number of Venezuelans or Nicaraguans. And again, the problem here is that what Biden and Harris tried to do was create a visa program that's never been authorized by Congress. And when I say that's a perversion of the law, they took a limited textual basis to allow individuals in for a limited purpose and turned it into allowing large swaths of foreign illegal aliens into this country. We filed suit on that. And again, that's a huge win. That's an enormous win to put a stop to that kind of catch and release policy. We're fighting them, trying to get them to force their hand to do their jobs and stop perverting the law to protect our southern borders and redeem America's national sovereignty.
Well, I'm wearing the perfect shirt today. It's a official member of a government watch list. And I want to welcome you to the team because
yeah, that's right.
Welcome. You're one of us. Has Joe Biden like called you and said, dude, just leave me alone? Like,
man, I'm anticipating an IRS audit at any point. You know, it's like it's coming. It's just a matter of time.
Right. All right. The big one, the Second Amendment Preservation Act. I've been singing its praise since the day it was passed into law in Missouri. Actually, prior to that, I was champion for it to get through the legislature there. And it's been a long journey. Biden decided he was going to sue the state of Missouri because, God forbid, you stand up for your citizens' Second Amendment rights and stop the encroachment and infringement by the federal government. It's made its way to it was a 3-judge panel this past week in the 8th Circuit. And I think they made a mistake. I really did. I think they made a mistake. I read the case, and the grounds that they said no on is just ridiculous. But I'm going to put it in your court. Say what you will, give people a quick rundown, and then personally what you thought about this decision and where we go from here.
Yeah, man. Look, I mean, we all know and love the Second Amendment. We know that the rights that come to us from God, not man, that are protected by our Constitution shall not be infringed. The people of the state of Missouri know that. And so they codified the Second Amendment Preservation Act, a robust protection of those rights. But the SAPA statute is really as much about the 10th Amendment as it is the Second Amendment. Right. As your audience will remember, the 10th Amendment says that any authority not given to the federal government or denied to the states is enjoyed by the states and the people of the states. Federal government of limited enumerated powers. States have residual power and authority because government is most responsive at the local level. And this is a bulwark against a centralized, tyrannical federal government. And so what Missouri did, our General Assembly enacted a statute, and our governor signed it into law that said, we're not going to let federal officials coerce local and state law enforcement into carrying out unconstitutional gun registrations, gun mandates, gun rules, gun regulations, gun confiscations. Again, this is merely a codification of the anti-commandeering doctrine that exists in Supreme Court jurisprudence interpreting the 10th Amendment. And the DOJ was incensed. Biden's DOJ couldn't live with that. They were apoplectic, so they filed suit. And we have taken it all the way to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, and a 3-judge panel said, well, look, state, you can't just, the federal government's supreme. You can't thumb your nose at them. Right. Well, I got news. The 10th Amendment still matters. And if states are to retain any sovereignty, then this case must and will be appealed to the United States Supreme Court. I'm proud to announce that we will be filing a petition for writ of certiorari and asking the United States Supreme Court to review this. And again, the question before the court is twofold. Number one, do states retain any sovereignty under the 10th Amendment, as the plain text would suggest? Right. But also, does standing matter? When you have a state statute that only limits state and local officials, how can the Department of Justice show that federal officials are harmed? It doesn't limit them at all. And so the 3-judge panel at the Court of Appeals really ignored that issue and brushed over it. You can notice how terse they are in the lack of standing analysis. And so those two questions are going to be important for the highest court in the land to answer.
Now, where the Supreme Court lately has made it pretty obvious that they don't want any Second Amendment cases on an interlocutory basis, where they want that final judgment on the merits. Assuming they just, let's play the devil's advocate, they don't take it up right away, are you just prepared to go the en banc route and go the long way?
You know, I think it's time to forego en banc and go straight to the United States Supreme Court. And again, you're right when it comes to an interlocutory appeal as to Second Amendment issues. But here we've got, a merits decision, because the trial court judge at least had to determine as one of the elements, whether or not we were likely to succeed, whether DOJ was likely to succeed on the merits. And, standing is always a threshold issue. And again, the Second Amendment, but equally the 10th Amendment. And I can't think of a state sovereignty 10th Amendment case that has come before this court with the current justices sitting on this court that has the magnitude of this case.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were with the way that they've been trending, just because it does say Second Amendment in the actual law. So I'm hoping they take it up on the 10th, because that's a home run.
Yeah. I think standing and state sovereignty are the major two issues here, and I think those could be dispositive.
Yeah, and especially with the current makeup of the court, it'd be a good one for them. I know you're in a ton of cases right now for America. Are there any others you want to hit on? Maybe where they are throughout the system? Any updates you might have?
We've fought hard to protect women's equality. We won the Title IX suit to stop Biden and Harris from destroying women's equality by allowing men into women's locker rooms and restrooms at athletic and onto women's sports teams. I mean, that kind of stuff is just silly and nonsense. It's a fashion statement that's underpinned by a lot of mental health problems. And, the Biden-Harris administration has no authority to rewrite a law that has stood for women's equality for 50 years. Proud to have delivered a win on that one. But let me say all of this. We've got more than 50 lawsuits pending against the Biden-Harris administration today. And it's because the Biden-Harris administration continuously exceeds the scope of their authority, violates the separation of powers, and infringes upon states' rights and our individual liberties. But the lawsuits are a game of whack-a-mole, right? I mean, they do something wrong, we take them to court, they get told to stop, and then they go to do something else wrong, and we file another lawsuit. The way to fix this long-term is to vote in a new president and vote in President Trump in November. And again, we've got to make this thing too big to rig. And that's going to take all of us registering to vote, partnering with our friends and community members, folks we go to church with, shooting buddies, folks you see at the range, folks you may hunt with. Like, we can, if every gun owner registers to vote and registers a shooting friend to vote and then takes them to the polling place in November, we will be too big to rig. And I'm encouraging everyone to check out voteforamerica.org. That's vote number 4, America.org. You can register to vote, register your friends, your shooting partners to vote, and then go one step further. Take them to the polling place in November. Make it too big to rig. Make our voices in the Second Amendment community matter.
Yeah, guys, he's one of us. He was here in Tennessee 2 weekends ago in Knoxville at the Gun Owners of America Goals event. He knows, just like I've been preaching, that there's almost 10 million gun owners and hunters that aren't registered to vote. And we're trying to do everything we can. And I'll challenge everybody watching who doesn't live in Missouri. If it sounds like Attorney General Bailey is doing more than your Attorney General is for the United States and for your rights, then head over to his website, baileymo.com. I'll have links down below, and chip in and help him win this election in November, because we need him. We absolutely need him. America will be a better place with AG Bailey running the ship. Brother, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging out. Anything I can do to help you, I am here. And from one, God-loving American to another, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing it for the right reasons. And may God bless you and your family, brother.
Hey, God bless you and your audience, my friend. I look forward to connecting again soon. Thanks for all you do. I'll look forward to talking soon.
Absolutely. Links are down below, guys. Check him out, and check out his Twitter or his X. It's a victory lap constantly against the Biden-Harris administration. Guys and gals, until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe. It's our right. It's not the government's. Take care.